welcome everyone. Going to start the recording to the cloud. All right, welcome everyone back to the Water, Wetlands, and Watersheds seminar. We should be up on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. Hello, Zoom. And today I have the honor and pleasure of introducing, we often have professors coming to present to you. And what I love is when we have a chance for a student to present. So today we have a student. So this is Chromophoric Singh, and he's a doctoral candidate in environmental health engineering at the University of Florida. So you're a candidate, which means you passed your qualifying exam.
Yeah, I did.
Congratulations. Yeah, and so Komal is going to talk to us today about a somewhat dispiriting topic, which is this particular bacteria, and maybe some others as well that really threatens your good time at the beach, right? So Komal's research is in the Geohealth and Hydrology lab here at UF, and he focuses on intersection between climate and public health and water quality. And he also uses tools like remote sensing and advanced statistical approaches to try to understand when, where, and why different water quality pathogens, and in this case, the pretty nasty bacteria, are showing up on the coast. He was recently recognized for his contributions. He was awarded the Sally and William Glick Graduate Research Endowment Award, and he's also an intern for the NSF GeoHealth program. He's committed to a career dedicated to reducing public health threats from pathogens and other harmful algorithms. So with that, come on, the floor is yours. You should be able to use this to advance if you like. And good, we are on.
Okay.
All right, thanks, Matthew.
Thank you, Dr. Kaplan. Thanks, Megan, and thanks everyone for being here. And thanks, Dr. Dipler as well, for providing me this opportunity. So I want to know how many of you guys are aware of this term Vibriosis or Vibrio? Okay, a lot. Not a lot, but still a lot. So Vibrio is a bacteria that's found in the coastal water. It's a halophilic bacteria. That means it's a salt-loving bacteria. That means it's found in the environments where there's high salinity. So probably brackish waters, coastal waters, as well as marine waters, that's the habitat of this Vibrio. Now they're like, since this is a bacteria and there are like more than 100 species of this Vibrio, but only a dozen of them cause illness to humans, and that illness is called as Vibrio. So now we need to turn from reactive to proactive public health. What does this mean? Let's say if a person is hospitalized because of any Vibrio infection, the health department will either seize that beach where he get the infection from, or maybe put a seizure on the maybe raw shellfish or whatever he ate and got the infection from. So that's the reactive approach. But we need to have a more active approach, that is proactive thing, that our aim is not to get a single case. We don't want to we don't even want a single case. That's why we need to, do the live tracking of the Vibrio where they're present based upon their environmental conditions. So let's begin with that. So firstly, what are Vibrio? Coastal bacteria found in the waters where the salinity is high. They love salt, they love temperature, they love organic matter. More than 100 species are there. They can so people can get Vibrio either by entering the water that has Vibrio with an open wound, or maybe with, let's say, they eat raw shellfish, maybe oysters and all, because oysters are they are known to be filtered for the ocean, right? They have a hub of bacteria. So oysters are the #1 source for the Vibrio vulnerable infections. And they can be deadly, definitely more than 80,000 cases everywhere in the United States. And since in the on the coastal regions, it can be linked with the open wound infection, but in the inland, since there's no ocean, it's mostly linked with the foodborne disease, eating the raw shellfish again. And Florida has the highest cases, then followed by the Chesapeake Bay. So now we need to understand, in order to switch from the active to the proactive approach, we need to understand what are the environmental variables that have been linked with these bacteria, with these Vibriosis. So these are some of the variables that have been used by the various researchers in the history, that can include the chlorophyll concentration, precipitation floods, temperature of the sea surface, and color dissolved organic matter, salinity, nutrients that include nitrate, phosphate, silicates, phytoplankton, zooplankton, and the dissolved oxygen. Now, maybe let's start with an example. So there's a study in 2013 that shows that Vibrio cholera, it's also Vibrio. So Vibrio cholera, that causes the cholera case disease. It has been linked with the precipitation as well as the temperature anomalies. So there's like very high This study has been verified in different countries, Yemen, Mozambique, Malawi, that combination of precipitation and the temperature directly increases the incidence of the Vibrio outbreak. So now, what are the questions to address? So how do all these environmental factors that I just talked about, how do each of them individually have an influence on the Vibrio? That's something that we will be using the ENMs for. ENM stands for environmental niche modeling or ecological niche modeling. And so this system has been designed to understand the habitat that is suitable for Vibrio growth. So we will be finding those variables. So let's say Vibrio vollificus needs a temperature between 25 to 28. So Vibrio paracamericus needs temperature from 25 to 28 degrees centigrade, and salinity between, let's say, 10 to 30 parts per 10,000 parts per thousands. So we will be like highlighting those regions, we will be highlighting those areas which will be having these environmental conditions, and based upon that, we can predict a potential outbreak of that Vibrio or of that disease. Next comes the ENSO. Now the concept of ENSO stands for El Niño-Southern Oscillation. So it is a oceanic or a climatic phenomenon that occurs in the Pacific Ocean. Now, how come an ocean phenomenon that is occurring in the Pacific Ocean is influencing the Vibrio that is in the other part of the world, maybe let's say Florida or just a big bay? So we will be talking about that in upcoming slides as well. And next comes the call DSS, and this is the system that our lab has designed, and I have worked on this especially. So this is a decision support system that is designed to predict the potential outbreaks just for specifically for cholera. And we will be using satellite-based environmental data sets in all of these studies. So now, how comes the satellite data comes into the play? The thing is that definitely that the Vibrio has been found in different parts of the world, and based upon that, we can do the in situ modeling, and we can do the in situ, we can collect the water sample, right? But it will be a lot of resources, and we will be using a lot of time, and based upon that, we cannot, in order to solve that thing, we can use satellite data that can provide us with all those variables that I just talked about in the initial slides, chlorophyll, CDOM, sea surface temperature and all. We can definitely get them from satellite data. And looking at this curve and the countries that have been involved with the satellites, they're like, if we just have a look at the United States and the Russia, they have like almost around 3,000 satellites of their own. And looking at the time series, they started sending satellites in 1957 to now it's like more than 50 years the satellites have been in space. So what I'm trying to say here is that satellites, they have been increasing. The technology of sensors and the satellites, they are increasing. Earlier, like from Landsat 1 to Landsat 7, Sentinel 1 to Sentinel 5, the technology definitely improved, and we will be talking about that as well. So this world map shows that how each of the satellites, these are the name of the satellites and the sensors that were used by different countries, by different people for different diseases, including waterborne, airborne, and vector-borne. And Landsat, GeoAI, Sentinel-5P, Aqua, Modis, Terra, FRIM, GPM, like there are multiple satellites that have been used in the history to understand how different sensors can be used for different diseases. So these are the diseases that they were used for: red for airborne, green for vector-borne, and blue for the waterborne. And since we are talking about we are more involved with the Vibrio, so we'll be more focusing on the waterborne diseases. And this shows how different satellites and their sensors have been used. And this picture further enhances the vision that if you just have a look at the maybe, let's say, malaria and the vector-borne disease, there are like multiple sensors that have been used to focus on that region, focus on that disease. It will not be like, so the thing is, a major limitation of the satellite data is the satellite data cannot detect the pathogens because they are of microscale, they are of nanoscale, right? We cannot even see them with the naked eye. So that's the limitation of the satellite data, but we can turn that thing into our use by understanding the environment that is favorable or suitable for Vibrio bacterial growth. So these satellites, they did not study these diseases, they studied the environment that were favorable for them. So that's how the satellite data can be equipped and can be used with the satellite with the infectious data. So now next comes the ecological niche modeling. This is the first thing that I was talking about, ENMs. So in order to, what you say, understand how different regions have Vibrio abundance or Vibrio absence, we need to understand that environment and all those variables. So this is the tool that was used for it. So first of all, this map shows the global presence of Vibrio around the world. Now, this includes a Vibrio cholera, Vibrio vulnificus, parahemolyticus, mimicus, fluvilis, and agenolithicus, and multiple other species. But we are just mostly concerned about the Vibrio vulnificus, cholera, parahemolyticus, and vulnificus because these are the most of the dangerous types, with the vulnificus claiming the most lives after cholera. And now the countries that are having more like inland resources that are like far from the coast, the areas that are far from the coast, they are either Vibrio cholera cases or maybe because of the foodborne cases. So a global data set was prepared for this model. And then the predictive analysis of Vibrio was done. For this, the satellite data was used for the different variables that we'll be talking about in the upcoming slide. The clinical Vibrio data, now the Vibrio data we can either get from the in situ, that like a person goes, a researcher goes to the ocean, collects the water, do the lab analysis, and check if it is positive for the Vibrio or not. That can be a source, but satellite data, then another is a clinical data. That means the person gets the Vibrio, goes to hospital, and that hospital makes a record of it. That's the clinical data. So the data that I just shared in the previous slide, it combines clinical data, it includes the in situ data, and based on satellite data and the in situ data, all this data, we did the data processing, that means data cleaning and moving all the unimportant variables and everything. And our approach for this model was that since we just had the presence only point, we did not know that we did not have enough data points for the absence. That means, let's say, sample was taken from ocean and it was not found positive for the Vibrio. We had those points, but they were limited in number, so we have to exclude them in order to run the model rationally. And after that, model evaluation was done based upon the variable importance and the how each variable contributed to that. AUC that stands for area under curve. And then based upon that, hotspot mapping was done to understand which Vibrio is present in which part of the world and what quantity and how to use this to project for the future scenarios. So this is a part of the data cleaning. So on the left, on the y-axis of the VIF graph of VIF plot, you can see the 10 variables: CDOM, silicate, salinity, pH, phosphate, nitrate, chlorophyll, phytoplankton, sea surface temperature, and dissolved oxygen. So why these 10 variables were taken? Because these were the again most common ones that have been linked with the Vibrio habitat suitability. So that's why these 10 were taken. And initially the multicollinearity test was done, and it was found that chlorophyll to dissolved oxygen, sea surface temperature, and phytoplankton, they have like pretty high VIF, that is variance inflation factor, and hence we wanted to hence we had to remove that. And based upon that, the next step was to do the recursive feature elimination. That's on the table on the right side. That shows the ranking that was done based upon all the importance of these features individually. So nitrate, silicate, phosphate, SST, and CDOM, they were all ranked 1, while the dissolved oxygen, salinity, pH, chlorophyll, and phytoplankton, they were ranked 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and this is the order in which they were removed. Keeping in mind the ranking was 1, those variables were kept. Now the unique thing is that sea surface temperature in the previous plot was showing high variance inflation factor, so it should have been removed. But the feature recursive model suggested that it should be kept in the mind. It should be kept in the model. Why? Because so that proves that sea surface temperature holds a unique value, and that has been proven in research as well, that sea surface temperature and nitrate and phosphate, these are the most of the influential variables, and they hold much power as compared to the other variables. So it was the sea surface temperature that was showing, that was the reason behind the high multicollinearity among other variables. So at large, out of those 10 variables, nitrate, silicate, phosphate, sea surface temperature, and CDOM was selected. And based upon that, I trained the model from past 20 years, from 1990s to 2022. And based upon that data, this map was prepared from for summer of 2025, taking the average of June and July months. And this is on a pixel-based grid, and we just focus on the maybe just Florida and the Bangladesh. Why just these two? Because definitely Florida is of interest, and this is something new that not new, but this is something that I wasn't expecting exactly from my model. That I was expecting more like there would be Vibrio cases on the east coast as well as on the Chesapeake Bay side, but there were more suitability of Vibrio in the region where the Mississippi River is, where the Gulf of Mexico is, and so that zone is hypoxia zone in the Gulf of Mexico, where that hypoxia means that there's low oxygen in that region. And we were talking about that as well in the upcoming slide. The other figure is of Bangladesh. Why I was expecting this one because Bangladesh has always been linked with the Vibrio, and it has been an epidemic. It has been a hotspot for the Vibrio cholera cases. There's like multiple Vibrio cholera outbreaks going on in the region of Bangladesh because of the delta that is Ganga Brahmaputra delta that's connecting to the ocean. So these show the how well the model performed. Was it accurate or was it like what was the accuracy? What was the precision of it? So let's see first of all the SHAP value. SHAP here stands for the Shapley additional explanation plots that says the how each of these variables had an influence on the model. The blue means low value, red means high value. For example, let's have a look at CDOM. Now the CDOM, it shows the direct relationship as the value turns from blue to red. That means CDOM is increasing. And if we see on the x-axis, that's the impact on model. That means whenever the CDOM is increasing, that means that it's going from blue to red. It's having a positive influence on the entire model. That means CDOM is having a direct relationship with the model. Phosphate is on the reverse side. That means when the phosphate is on the bluer side, that means when the value of phosphate is decreasing, the value its influence on model is increasing. But the nitrate and the silicate, they have an opposite influence, similar to the CDOM. SST, I would say, had a complicated thing because it was more like influence in the higher temperatures. They were like, as the value increases, the Vibrio increase. And looking at the confusion matrix, it also shows the same story that model performed pretty well. We're looking at true absence and true presence values that are pretty high. So model has a good predictive value. It can it can easily differentiate between different classes of Vibrio presence and Vibrio absence. If we look at the black figure that shows the classification report, sorry. If you look at the black figure, it shows the validation AUP score that stands for area under curve and is 0.9986. And that was like, I wasn't expecting that high. So I triple checked the model. I again reran the entire simulation with the other techniques as well, and I got the same results. So that's how I made sure that the model is running perfectly. There's no flaw in this model. And the classification report shows that if you look at the, if you look at the 0.99 value, it shows that it has, out of all the absence points, model have a 99% accuracy of detecting the absence point. That means if there are 100 points, let's say 99 of them, 99 absence points, the model has the power to predict 99 out of them. So it's pretty high. And if you look at the recall value, the 0.94, that shows that how much it has precision in the predicting the presence value, that is 0.93. So we can say that model is better in predicting absence rather than model than the presence. But the thing is, it's almost 0.99, 0.93, so it doesn't make a significant difference, but it's still a powerful model. And if we have a look at the last graph that shows the XGBoost permutation importance feature, now this shows that these are the importance of each of the variables that were included. And nitrate and the phosphate, these two nutrients are at the highest number. Like these two show that the Vibrio, they are mostly influenced by these two variables, nitrate and phosphate. Now, if we go back, if we have a look over here in this region, Gulf of Mexico, this is where the Mississippi River drains its entire resources, right? It's like collects all the agricultural runoffs. It includes all the fertilizers and everything from a large watershed from the Midwest, from the Corn Belt and all. It drops it over here, and that's what my model is saying as well. The nitrate and the phosphate, these are the most influential factors. So everything aligns pretty well. This was again the same model, but it was trained using the different technique, that is SVM, that is support vector machine, because I also wanted to try with the traditional ML approach. The XGBoost was the advanced ML approach. This was more of a traditional thing. The model captured almost the same region, but in the region of the Bangladesh in the Bay of Bengal and the Bangladesh regions, there was a higher hotspot or higher vibrioactivity that SVM reported. And based upon the precision report and the silicate phosphate, yeah, definitely there's a difference between the silicate and the nitrate. Initially, nitrate was having a significant impact. Silicate is having more influence on the model. So based upon all this, we can definitely say that silicate, phosphate, nitrate, we can use the ensampling model, and we can use ensemble model. That's the new thing that I'm using, the TabNet model. That's a deep learning model, in where I will be ensembling all these models and but you should kind of averaging out all the results to understand exactly how and which nutrient has the most influence. So yeah, and looking at the confusion matrix, I think this model performed pretty good as well. And same goes for the precision method. This model is 99% accurate while predicting the absence points and 88% accurate while predicting the presence points. So a little bit less, what you said, a little bit less accurate as compared to the previous XGBoost, but still better, still good. So next comes the influence of ENSO on Vibrio. So what's ENSO? There's El Niño-Southern Oscillations. This three figures shows how the ENSO, that's a oceanic phenomenon in the Pacific Ocean over here, how this region is something happening over this region is influencing Vibrio cases in this region in Florida. So there's multiple Niño regions, Niño 1 plus 2, 3, 3.44, but researchers have used Niño 3.4 because it captures most of the those environmental variables. It captures most of that, and all those waves. So this is the most widely being used, and because it easily captures all the SST anomalies. So the second graph shows the seasonal trend of ENSO over time. Now this is how the ENSO performs, and on the y-axis is oceanic Niño index. Now what's the oceanic Niño index? It's like you can understand from the whenever the sea surface temperature is gonna be more than average, it's gonna be a El Niño region, and whenever the sea surface temperature is gonna be lower than the mean or lower than the long-term average, it's gonna be a La Niña region. La Niña. So if we have just like a zero line and all the values more than zero on the y-axis, they are El Niño. All the values lower than zero or less than zero are La Niña. And they are called sisters as well, because they occur in the oscillation pattern, because it's 1 year that's El Niño, the next year is going to be La Niña, so that's why they have a oscillating motion. And since this was a seasonal analysis, hence we had to look. So that's why there are like 4 different graphs for the DJF, MEM, JJ, and SON. These stands for the name of the months: December, January, February, March, April, May, and all those 4 seasons. And the last figure shows the mean Vibrio cases that are in the entire Florida. The left one shows all the Vibrio cases except vulnificus. The right one shows just the Vibrio vulnificus. And based on these 2 figures, we can say that Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and Tampa, these are the kind of hotspots for the Vibrio infections. Keeping in mind that these are the metropolitan cities and there's a lot of water activities and more people are involved with the ocean and going into coast, so they are more people are prone to get Vibrio infection, and also the tourism industry and all, as compared to the other people that are not where other region where there is not that much water activities. So data sources and environmental variables for this ENSO. So with respect to the data sources, ENSO NOAA from NASA dataset was used. Satellite data was used to use the SST and the chlorophyll data. Why chlorophyll was brought into the picture? Because ENSO has a direct influence on SST. It's basically SST anomaly only. So that has a direct influence on the chlorophyll, and that chlorophyll is a proxy for phytoplankton, zooplankton, and all. And this is like a complex food web that chlorophyll can easily tackle. So that's why the chlorophyll was brought into the picture. And So the logic here was to understand the influence of ENSO on chlorophyll and chlorophyll to Vibrio. And based upon that, in order to simplify the analysis, low, moderate, and high categories were chosen for SST and chlorophyll, and ENSO phases, La Nina, El Nino, and neutral phases. Neutral means when there is no significant anomaly of sea surface temperature. So this shows the spatial and temporal trends that's been occurring for Vibrio cases in Florida. And right now, we just need to focus on the south. This region, south and the west central. The south represents the Miami-Dade and the Fort Lauderdale region. The west central is more of you can say Sarasota and the Tampa region. If we have a look over the seasons, the seasons again, the JF for December, January, February, the name of the months. So we can see that the south region, this one, the south region, it has a constant increase of Vibrio cases. And this plot has been developed from the past 20 years. So that shows that a value of MAM 0.61 that shows that the trend of Vibrio in the Miami region in the months of March, April, May, they have been increasing. So keeping in mind for MAM, JJ, and SON 0.61, 0.63, 0.64, this shows that Miami and the surrounding regions, they are under constant threat from the months of March to November, and that's what CDC suggests as well, that in the warmer temperatures, cases of Vibrio start increasing. So that's what this heat map shows as well. And if we just look at Tampa Bay and the Sarasota, they have, like I would say, a little less correlation values, but still March to August, these are the seasons where we need to be careful while going to the oceans in the Tampa region. So that's why these two, western and the south, they show how the data of Vibrio cases in different seasons are, like how the Vibrio cases are increasing with every season from past 20 years. So now comes like how to bring all this together, and so to chlorophyll, SST to Vibrio and all those things. So since the model was already very complicated, so I had to choose the odds ratio. Why? Because the legs were also involved. Now the odds ratio here just basically stands for the odds of getting a thing. That means like getting an event. Let's say chances of getting Vibrio when the chlorophyll was of 5 mg per meter cube to the chances of getting Vibrio when chlorophyll was not 5 mg per meter cube. So that's the odds ratio. And the concept of that was brought into the picture. The right curve shows the more of a seasonal, the more of a trend map that shows for the temperature. And this is for the Florida buffer. Why it was done? Because as per CDC and as per my previous graph shows that the cases are increasing in these seasons where the sea surface temperature is higher than the normal. And based upon that, the figure also completely makes sense that the R value, that the correlation value varies from 0.5 to 0.8. That means it's a very high significant value in the region of Sarasota and the Miami region. That means from 2003 to 2022, the temperature of this region is increasing every year with a constant with a constant rate. So based upon this and the previous patient analysis, we can say that definitely the Miami and the Tampa regions need to be studied with respect of for the Vibrio. And this is the top left graph shows the geographical zones of Florida. This was what I was talking about. The purple ones was the south region, and the western was the Tampa and Sarasota region. So these are the two regions, and let's focus first on this blue graph. So the blue graph shows the relation between the ENSO and the chlorophyll. The orange one shows the relation between chlorophyll and Vibrio. So chlorophyll acts as a kind of a bridge between them. So let's take, for example, if we have a look at southwest. Now, southwest region is over this region of southwest. Let's say ENSO of WE. WE here stands for weak El Nino. That means temperature was a little higher than the normal temperatures. In the months of February, March, April, the chlorophyll value of April, May, June increased in the was most found in the low chlorophyll category. Now, what does low chlorophyll value means here? If we just look at here southwest, that means the value was 5. That means what this graph is showing, the odds of getting chlorophyll and equal or less than 5 mg per meter cube are 5 times when ENSO of weak El Nino category was there in the months of February, March, and August. So that's what this is showing. And if we also just compare the March, April, May, so we can like maybe aggregate both the results. So we can say that whenever the ENSO is gonna happen in the Pacific Ocean in the months of in the category of weak El Nino from the months of February, March, April, and March, April, May, from February to May, the chlorophyll is gonna be in the lower category. That means it's gonna be either equals or less than 5 mg per meter cube. And depending upon that, if we just have a look over here, the AMG chlorophyll, the vibriosis, this is the medium value. The medium value shows the 4. That means what I'm trying to say here is that if the ENSO of weak El Nino category occurs in the Pacific Ocean in the months of February to May, it will result in the certain value of chlorophyll, which in turn will be giving us, we can expect at least 4 cases of Vibrio in this region. At least 4 cases of Vibrio in this region based upon this odds ratio, and the chances are pretty high. And if we just look at like, there are like 8 times the chances. Like if the ENSO didn't happen, if the ENSO happens, the chances of getting Vibrio in the June, July, August are 8 times higher if the ENSO didn't happen. So that's the link between the ENSO to chlorophyll, chlorophyll to Vibrio. And next comes the call DSS, that is the decision support system for the cholera prediction. So what it is, it's a system that uses the data of the country and the date from the user. It's designed in a way that it can be used by the user who don't have enough technical knowledge as well. Right now, it's not in that form, but that's the aim. So what this does is that it generates the risk map based upon the hypothesis that was given by Dutla in 2013. And based upon that, that map can provide us with the risk of cholera outbreak for the next 28 days. In the outbreak and the output, in the input, the user enters the date and the country. As hypothesis is the main processing thing. That data is another part. Output, we get in the output section, we get the country-wide risk and the quantitative-wide risk. These are the remote sensing data sets that have been used. Now, the precipitation and temperature, these were the 2 things that I was talking about in the sorry. These are the 2 things that I was talking about in the initial slide as well. The environmental variable responsible for the having an association with the Vibrio. Now, there are 2 precipitation environment. Then why do we need 2 different satellites or different sensors? One is GPM and the second one is the TRIM. The thing is that TRIM is no longer continuing, so it's more like providing us with the long-term mean in order to calculate the anomalies, while the GPM is like more of a recent satellite that came to surface in 2015. And it's used for the recent precipitation data and to compute anomaly, while TRIM is used to understand what the long-term mean is of a particular area for a particular time frame. Next comes the temperature. For temperature, Merato is the only boss. Like it can provide us with the recent data, it can provide us the long-term data. So it's just one data set that we use. And apart from that, we also use the POPMA data set, that is the population data set. Because cholera has a direct link with the cholera. That's why population was also brought into the picture. So this is the hypothesis given by Dutla in 2013. And for this figure, let's just focus on the red circle in the middle. At the top left, let's say T is the today's date or today's time. So T minus 8 weeks, that means 2 months from now, positively anomalous temperature. Let's say that there is higher than normal sea surface temperature, higher than normal air temperature in a region from past 2 months, followed by from past 1 month, there's also more than average rainfall. When these 2 conditions are met, in combination with the unsafe sanitation and the drainage condition or the wash conditions, they definitely and they incredibly increase the risk of cholera outbreak in that region. If we just look at the gray region, they show the temperature is normal or negatively anomalous. Same goes for rainfall. And if a country has a safe wash conditions, there won't be any cholera outbreak. Now, the good thing is that if a country, obviously, we cannot have a control over the temperature and the rainfall as they have been environmental phenomenon, but we can have influence on the safe wash if we just broaden the safe hygienic condition like washing hands and proper drainage condition. If a region is flooded, if there are proper drainage system to drain the water as soon as possible. drainage system to drain the flood water as soon as possible, the chances of Vibrio, the cholera outbreak reduces significantly. And this hypothesis has been verified in different regions of Yemen, Haiti, Cameroon, and we have been generating these reports every week for Turkey, Yemen, Sudan, Pakistan, South Sudan, and multiple other countries as well. So this is the cholera risk prediction index that shows that how does it work. Right now, it's not very user-friendly, as I already mentioned. The top figure shows the country that the user needs to enter and the date from 2 months from which the user needs the risk map for. The video is for the algorithm generation. It downloads the GPM data, trim data, as well as the Meta2 data for temperature and the precipitation anomalies, and based upon that, this risk map is generated. This is for Sudan right now. This was generated for August 10, 2024, because it was showing the and it was verified as well that after a month from August 10th, 2024, there was an outbreak there. And qualitative risk was calculated, and the qualitative risk has been calculated over there. So blue means low risk and red means high risk areas. So this is what our risk prediction is. And it was further enhanced using the leaflet library so that it can become more user friendly and interactive as well. The top one shows the county-based risk. That if we just scroll a cursor over there, it will show the district risk score and the risk level as well. The graph down side shows the pixel risk based on the pixel that are like on the pixel scale, not on the county scale. So this is how we can already know where a cholera outbreak can occur. So that's how we can warn those. We can warn the government of those regions to be prepared and with safe wash conditions. And these are the cholera risk reports. And so as I was talking about on the pixel scale and the country scale, this is for Malawi. This is on the pixel scale, this is on the county scale, and these maps have been generated for different countries every week on our left website, a screenshot of which has been provided over here. That is about Ethiopia, Kenya, and the Republic of Congo, and also shows the Yemen. It shows the weekly risk change. It shows how much what's the its pattern as well, the time series, how the risk is varying, and yeah. The last part is GeoAI, that is integration of AI in geospatial data in order to bring in the ENM, ENSO, and cholera all under one single umbrella. GeoAI is the term because we need to bring everything together to shift properly from reactive to proactive approach. And this is a framework that shows what's the basic GeoAI model is and how exactly it works. So when we brought into the picture the remote sensing data, laboratory data, in situ data, we brought into the picture the domain analysis, knowledge engineering, machine learning algorithms, AI tools, statistical methods, whatever they were involved in, whatever can be and should be involved in this analysis. Everything was brought into the picture. Marine ecology was understood, focus on the plankton and the Vibrio and the chlorophyll and the temperature and all other variables that have a complex relationship, and a comparison of the satellite predictions with the in situ data as we did in the cholera DSO. We verified our potential cholera risk map with the countries and for the Yemen and all. Bringing into the picture the epidemiological angle and the satellites from Landsat 8 to 9, Sentinel to PACE as well for the hyperspectral data and oceanometry, and bringing everything together creates a GeoAI framework. And the graph on the right side is these are just the preliminary results from a GeoAI model. It's like the model is still under progress, and for the testing purposes, I just trained it for the 5 different variables, that is sea surface temperature, salinity, chlorophyll, CDOM, and sea surface elevation, and this is on a global scale using 3 different techniques: random forest distribution, TAPNet, and support vector machine was not that that of a good tool over here, so that's why it was excluded. Now nitrates, as we can see from the ENM analysis, that nitrates and the nutrients, they have a significant influence on the Vibrio. They were not brought into the picture because I want to understand like how other variables also influence them. But in the upcoming models, they are planning to include the 23 additional variables that will include all the nutrient, including grid variables and multiple other oceanic variables as well. So based upon the preliminary analysis, these are the populations that show that are at risk of Vibrio. The risk level varies from low to high, green to red. And the map is pretty midline. This is Africa, that's the Gulf, that's the East Coast or the Chesapeake Bay, that's the West Coast or California region, and that one shows the Asia. Now, a thing that can be expected was that if we just have a look over this region, this shows the green, that means the Vibrio risk is low over here, but our ENM analysis showed the opposite because these are for the same time frame. Another thing is that I did not include nitrate and the nutrient that was the major contributors in the ENM analysis in this model. So that's why it's showing the low value. And yeah, this is a vision. It definitely needs to be improved based upon the additional variables. So that's the Vibrio risk, the population which are at risk in different parts of the world. Now, future direction in this, advancing the ENMs, called DSS, ENSO, and all these combined with the GeoAI under an umbrella term will provide us with a holistic approach to global Vibrio research so that we can understand where the Vibrio is. We can do, so the vision here is not to react after a patient comes to a hospital, but to do a live tracking of where the Vibrio can be present in the entire portion. So that's the aim of this entire innovation. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, Kamal. So we'll have some questions from the audience, and then we can also see if anyone on YouTube has a question. But we'll start in the room. And yeah, Aaron.
Sure. User access for this, would you be planning on making it like a website or an app?
The call DSS?
Yes.
The entire, so we already have this website, right? This one, yeah. We already have this website. Yeah. Since you already have this website, so the aim is that more factors will be included in this website. It will be updated with the live tracking. Right now, it's more like with the Vibrio cholera. So if you look over here, it just shows the risk map. It's a county-based risk map. We also have a pixel-based pixel map. We also have an entire cholera monthly model just for Africa because it's another hotspot for the Vibrio. So that's why just Africa has been incorporated for the monthly model as of now. But talking to on your question, this is the website where we will be adding most of.
Other questions from students?
What does the Vibrio bacteria feed on naturally?
So the thing is that this variable that I included. Yeah, this variable CDOM. So CDOM here stands for color dissolved organic matter. Now what happens is that the influence of all these variables is kind of very complicated on the Vibrio directly. Now the thing is, there's this plankton, phytoplankton and the zooplankton. And the zooplankton, this Vibrio, this gets attached to the zooplankton. And the zooplankton, it eats phytoplankton. Now the thing is, both phytoplankton and zooplankton, they release organic matter. And that organic matter is being consumed by the Vibrios. And this entire system can be marked as a proxy from chlorophyll. Like that means like wherever the zooplankton is high in a higher concentration, the phytoplankton will be there, chlorophyll will be higher in that region, and the same goes for the Vibrio as well. So that's what it feeds on.
It means the Vibrio is, it's hard to say anymore, but Vibrio is kind of more animal type, like the cave rabbits. Plankton is more like a plant. It's a plant,
Vibrio is bacteria, right?
bacteria, but like more animal-like. It eat plankton.
Right, because the bacteria is a heterotroph, so it needs to eat organic matter, right?
Yeah.
Whereas Coronia brevis is maybe a mixotroph, so
Yeah.
it does some. I'll let the biogeochemists. Yeah, but yes, mixotroph. Yeah, right? Yeah. So I got a question. So in the first third of the talk, we were talking about predicting Vibrio.
Mhm.
And then you showed the confusion matrices and the shaps and da. So,
Yes.
you had this, when you showed the confusion matrix, the number of samples was clear, right? So you had like 1,300 in nose and you had about 1,500 total samples.
So this is just for the validation data set, actually.
Just for the validation. So that's what I was wondering, how many overall samples and then how did you do? Did you do like a cross validation?
Yeah, I did. I ran this model for I had 1,000 Vibrio presence points because we have limited presence points over all of the globe. This map,
Yeah,
that the global Vibrio map that has 925 points to be precise, so 1,000 data points that were Vibrio presence, and I generated 0 absence points from the projected data, and based upon that, how the data was prepared.
yeah. So what is the impact of having such because you have a small number of
Yeah.
presence and a
Yeah.
large number of absence, right? So almost
Yeah.
like 10 to 1, yeah?
Yeah.
So, and of course, if you're simulating the absence data, like you could make 1 billion absence points
Yeah.
if you wanted, right?
Yeah.
So I guess how does the unbalanced
So
response variable affect
So-
your 99%, 98? It's so good, right?
yeah. So with respect to that thing is that the techniques that I used, the XJ boost and the tabnet, I didn't show the tabnet over here. They are specifically designed for the advanced ML algorithms that are specifically they are specifically good with the dealing with these imbalanced data sets. And keeping in mind that there were limited number of the presence points and we have to add more pseudo absence points. Yeah, definitely we can add billion data point, but we should not add it because it will be too much.
Yeah.
And based upon this entire thing, that's why the XG boost and the other, that is tabnet, was chosen. That's why the support vector machine, it slightly performed little what you say, lower as compared to the other models.
Okay, but do you feel like your goodness of fits, like 0.99, 0.98 are
Yeah.
inflated in a sense by the imbalance, or is it just because it's a binary and we have,
The thing is that I also tested this model with 1,000 absence points as well, I would say.
yeah,
I trained this model with different sets of these pseudo absence points, pseudo absence generated points. And based upon all that models, I was getting kind of similar results. There was not a lot of difference. And based upon I would say, the literature that has been done in the ENM part, it has been widely accepted that it's completely fine that to use 10,000 points to maintain ratio 1 to 10. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm okay, so the model is not what you say, the model results, they are not that much different when the absence points are varied. So
yeah.
and based on the literature, so I chose this one.
Great talk, by the way. Clearly you've been busy. The validation points, where's that data coming from? That's not actually infections, or is it?
So the thing is that the validation points, they are okay. So what was done is that there were 1,000 points, and then 1,000 points were brought into the picture for pseudo absence generated points, and based upon that validation data set, they did have they were validated on these pseudo absence points.
So, are the presence points like a water grab sample from the coastline? Is it like a county level death certificate? What are the positive data made up
What is
of?
positive data made of?
Yeah,
So the positive data is made of so what was done is that, let's say a clinical case was found in any hospital or any clinic. Based upon that, a 200-kilometer buffer, only those points that lie within the 50-kilometer of the inland region from the coast was selected. And based upon each of those points, 200-kilometer buffer was selected, and the mean of all the oceanic variables were taken for that. That's how the data was prepared.
So there were actual infections. I mean, somebody reported a case of, okay, so this is not necessarily the presence of Vibrio in the environment. It's
No,
actually the
it's
human
the- yeah,
connection
the
to
human-
that as well.
the
So
human-
it's a combination of both of those.
Yeah, it's a combination of both of
so
them.
if someone ate a bad oyster in Topeka, Kansas, and then flew to Sarasota and then got the.
Now the thing is, for that was why the data cleaning was done, and in that step, so the data we received, we had that travel report as well. If the patient traveled, we had to exclude that point. So it just includes the real data.
It's really cool work, so.
Thank you.
All right, can I just ask one question? So, your guidance for everyone as we continue to enjoy the beach in Florida.
Yeah.
Do you have a county that we should avoid? This is being recorded.
I don't mean, I
No,
don't
no, no.
want to offend anyone, any particular county, but I was doing an internship back in 23 and between 2023 and I was in Sarasota region. And there was this lake that's like full of Vibrio. So I would say that to avoid the hotspot regions,
Yeah.
in those seasons that on the heat map that I showed, like summer seasons for Tampa and the Miami, but like obviously that's not possible. So I would just say if you have a wound, at least don't go.
Yeah.
And apart from that, try not to eat raw shellfish or oysters.
Yeah.
So these are the main things I would say.
Okay, thank
Apart from
you.
that, like our roads are pretty safe from it has pretty good drainage system to call right now gonna be other here.
Right, but Vibrio, we've seen. a
We
number of
are here, but
cases.
cholera, yeah, cholera streams have been here, but like they're not that pathogenic and all, so, yeah.
All right, well, let's give one more round of applause to come up with the textbook. All right, so next week we have Joey Smith coming. He's a research scientist from Ohio State University. I'm 90% sure this is a virtual talk, but we'll still meet here. You're welcome to watch it online if you like, or to meet here. We'll have a watch party, and he's going to be talking about quantifying the hydrology and water quality efficacy of large-scale wetland and green infrastructure projects in Ohio. All right, thanks everyone. See you next week. Thanks everybody online. Get your seminar write-ups in. I see everyone turned in this week and keep it up. Thanks, everyone.